Chapter 41 Spy. You are listening at novelfull.audio. While Byakuya was meditating, Shigeru, who was standing aside, felt a little uneasy. He had obviously agreed to join the Akatsuki organization, so why didn't Bai Ye reply? Could it be that he had agreed too readily and aroused the other party's suspicion, so he planned to kill someone to silence him? At this time, Byakuya, who came back to his senses, noticed Shigeru beside him, stretched out his hand and said, "I accidentally got distracted just now, but you are still welcome to join the Akatsuki organization." Hearing this, the corners of Shigeru's mouth twitched slightly. He is a jounin after all. If he loses focus at this time, wouldn't he worry that he will go back on his sneak attack? However, considering the strength shown by Byakuya, Shigeru still suppressed the desire to complain. The other party was really capable of crushing him, and the pills he had just fed to him were definitely not clean and mixed with other things. After trying to calm down, Shigeru began to think about the future. If the other party is really a high-level member of the Akatsuki organization, it might not be a bad idea to join the Akatsuki organization. In the past 6 months, he has also obtained a lot of information about the Akatsuki organization, and many colleagues who are disappointed with the village have joined the Akatsuki organization. He also secretly protected the Akatsuki organization, but he still believed in Hanzo-sama, although Hanzo-sama now stays in the rain-hidden village every day, sitting back and watching the bandits running rampant in the Kingdom of Rain. Sooner or later, Master Hanzo will cheer up and lead the Kingdom of Rain again. At this time, Shigeru realized that he still didn't know Byakuya's name, so he asked, "What should I call this lord?" "Just call me Bai Ye." "White Knight?" Shigeru was stunned. He seemed to have heard this name from his past colleagues. It seems that Byakuya is really a member of the Akatsuki organization, with a status second only to Yahiko, Nagato and Konan. But he thought that Byakuya was at least a middle-aged man, but he didn't expect that he was just a teenager. After pondering for a moment, he then asked, "Okay, Lord Byakuya, does Lord Byakuya recruit me to join the Akatsuki organization this time? Do you want me to leave Yuin village and join the Akatsuki organization, or do you want me to stay in Yuin village?" In Shigeru's opinion, Byakuya's purpose in recruiting him was nothing more than these two. One is to let him leave Yuin village, and the other is to let him become a spy. If he was asked to leave Yuin village, he had no choice, but if he was asked to serve as a spy to collect information about the village, he would have to think carefully about it. At this time, Byakuya also revealed Shigeru's work content. After joining the Akatsuki organization, you are still a ninja of the rain-hidden village. You only need to obey the orders of the rain-hidden village. I will not interfere too much with you. Bai Ye paused for a moment, then continued, "But besides working for Yuin village, I still have a task to hand over, and I hope you can complete it with all your strength." With that said, Byakuya took out a scroll from his pocket and threw it to Shigeru. Shigeru took the scroll and secretly said that Byakuya originally asked him to be a spy lurking in the hidden rain village. It seems that the purpose of the Akatsuki organization is not that simple, but it has not shown its fangs yet. But when he opened the scroll and looked at it carefully, Shigeru's expression changed instantly, and his eyes when looking at Byakuya were full of weirdness. Bai Ye did not ask him to collect information about Yuin village, but only asked him to make a commercial machine according to the above design and sell it, and the money earned would be divided into 30% and 70%. As a black marketeer, his intuition told him that once the above products were produced, they would be very profitable, but if he wanted to invest and do business together, why did he have to expose the back of the Akatsuki organization and force him to join the Akatsuki organization? Wouldn't it be good for everyone to make money together? After thinking for a moment, Shigeru said with some confusion, "Byakuya-sama, do you just want me to do this? Don't you need to collect information about the village?" Byakuya glanced at Shigeru and said, "Why do you want to collect information from the village? The Akatsuki organization and Amigakure village are not hostile. I just want to ask you for help. Strictly speaking, it is bribery and threats to the Amigakure Mergenin. If we don't find some big shot to protect us, what will happen if the industry is targeted?" Escort. Shigeru suddenly remembered the magical little pill he had taken earlier. It seemed that he had indeed received a favor, and now he had obtained another project that could make a lot of money. There is nothing extra excessive about the other party, judging from the results. It was good, and he undoubtedly received huge benefits, but the process always made him feel very uncomfortable, and he felt like he was being persecuted. At this time, Bai Ye continued. However, if Hanzo-sama really takes action against the Akatsuki organization, please remember to inform us. At least you are now a member of the Akatsuki organization. After saying that, Bai Ye disappeared into the alley, leaving only a half-opened box full of cash. After looking at the place where Byakuya disappeared, Shigeru looked at the cash on the ground and the design drawings in his hand. He seemed to have become a member of the Akatsuki organization inexplicably, and he only knew that the other party was Bai Ye from the Akatsuki organization, and knew nothing else. Right now, he only had two choices: act according to what the other party said and report the matter to Lord Hanzo. If the other party was an enemy spy, he would report it to Lord Hanzo without hesitation, but the other party happened to be from the Akatsuki organization, and he was not allowed to collect information about the village. It was just a convenience and gave him something he couldn't refuse. Benefit, and if the report is really reported, it is still unknown whether Master Hanzo will pay attention to the matter, whether he will suspect him, and whether Bai Ye, a boy with a strange personality, will take revenge on him. After all, he was loyal to Hanzo-sama, risked being killed, and reported the matter in detail. It is better to quietly work for Bai Ye and earn a lot of money without betraying the interests of the village. It is enough to just turn a blind eye. After thinking for a moment, Shigeru returned to the room and began to write down a mission report. From this mission report, Shigeru deliberately ignored the meeting with Byakuya tonight, and lowered the quantity of supplies purchased by the Akatsuki organization. In a dark corner, Byakuya secretly observed Shigeru's performance, and then nodded with satisfaction. So far, Shigeru's performance has been as expected. Although there were some accidents during the period, it still went according to plan perfectly. In order to install this spy, he first threatened Shigeru with force to join the Akatsuki organization, and then gave Shigeru a simple and sweet task that would not harm the interests of Amigakure village, allowing him to sink step by step. As time goes by, the other party's interests will automatically be bound to the Akatsuki organization, and they will completely become members of the Akatsuki organization. Of course, the most important thing is that he left a curse mark in Shigeru's body. Even if the other party betrays the Akatsuki organization, he can kill him immediately. However, these are just a backup plan just in case. Maybe in the face of Yahiko's ideas and huge interests, he doesn't need to use the curse seal, and the other party can work well for the Akatsuki organization. Chapter 42 Sansho Fish Hanzo. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Yuin village. Under the repeated urging of the guards, Sansho Hanzo reluctantly walked into the office. Looking at the mountains of reports on the desk, he frowned and began to deal with them one by one. When the guard next to him saw this, his eyes were full of worry. They are both worried about their leader, Sansho Hanzo, and also worried about the future of the Rain country. The former Hanzo-sama was not what he is now. 10 years ago or even 5 years ago, Hanzo-sama was full of enthusiasm for work, full of care for his subordinates, and wanted to spend all his time on the rise of the Kingdom of Rain, and under the leadership of Lord Hanzo, they repelled the invaders from the Kingdom of Wind, drove the Sand Ninja out of the Kingdom of Rain, and made the Rain Hidden Village the most prestigious ninja village outside the 5 major ninja villages. But I don't know when it started. Master Hanzo fell. Not only did they lose their ambition to open up new territories, but they even bothered to resolve domestic affairs. The long-term laziness directly led to the exodus of a large number of ninjas from Yuin village, and bandits became rampant in the territory. As guards along the way, they can also guess the reason for Lord Hanzo's corruption. It seems that because the country of Rain is located in a place where there are 4 wars, Rain Hidden Village cannot expand externally. After seeing no hope of becoming a great country, Hanzo-sama simply gave up on his responsibilities, and his vision became increasingly narrow, from hoping for the rise of the land of Rain, to seeing only the surroundings of the Rain Hidden Building. If it weren't for the reminders from people like them, Hanzo-sama might not even bother to deal with official duties, and would just stay in the room all day long drinking tea and enjoying life. In their hearts, they hope that Lord Hanzo can regain his original intention and lead them to take the initiative to start the war. Hanzo also noticed the strange looks in the guards' eyes, but didn't say anything more. This group of people do not understand the plight of the Rain country at all. The Rain country can be solved without hard work. In the last ninja war, the Amigakure village did not become the winner, and it will not be the winner in future ninja wars. Rather than risk participating in a great ninja war, it would be better to declare a closed country to the outside world. Given the barrenness of the Kingdom of Rain, as long as it maintains sufficient combat effectiveness, there is no need to worry about other countries attacking the Kingdom of Rain. As for whether the ordinary people in the country are living well or not, this has nothing to do with him. The reputation he gained in the first half of his life was enough for him to enjoy himself in the second half of his life. There is no need to spend time and energy on meaningless work. However, no matter how lazy he is at work, he has always maintained contact with the major ninja villages and secretly participated in many conspiracies. After getting down to business, Sansho Hanzo quickly noticed Shigure's mission report. Shigure is one of the people in charge of the black market. He can track the whereabouts of wandering ninjas in the Land of Rain through the movement of black market supplies. In Shigure's report, Hanzo quickly noticed the words, Akatsuki Organization. Akatsuki means the first ray of light when the sun rises. The Akatsuki organization that calls itself this name makes Hanzo a little more interested, and he seems to have heard of this organization somewhere, and it feels familiar. Suppressing the doubts in his heart, Hanzo asked his subordinates on the side. Do any of you know about the Akatsuki organization? After hearing Hanzo's question, the guard on the side quickly said. Master Hanzo, the Akatsuki organization has been very active in the Kingdom of Rain recently. It is said to be a peaceful organization that was established recently. They seem to be committed to achieving mutual understanding between people and have been helping villagers fight against bandits and wandering ninjas. Help to fight against bandits? Sansho Hanzo frowned. In other words, they are a ninja organization. Can you tell me the details of this organization? Yes. The guard nodded, and then told him all the information he knew. After hearing that the person who founded the Akatsuki organization was a disciple of Jiraiya, Sansho Hanzo's expression changed and his expression became serious. The actions of the Akatsuki organization in gathering ninjas and protecting ordinary people didn't matter to him, as they helped him maintain law and order in the Land of Rain. But Jiraiya's identity as his apprentice aroused his vigilance. His defeated General Jiraiya secretly took in 3 orphans after being defeated. These 3 orphans actually established a peace organization. I just don't know if Jiraiya is behind this peaceful organization, and whether it will pose a threat to his rule. If it can really threaten him. Thinking of this, Sansho Hanzo shook his head slightly. How could a new organization threaten his rule? Even Yahiko and his teacher Jiraiya, together with Orochimaru and Tsunade, were no match for him. The only people in the entire ninja world who can make him feel afraid are a few old guys of the same age. Moreover, he and Konoha's high-level officials have maintained cooperation and have always had a good relationship. They even carried out a conspiracy together before, causing the death of the 3rd Raikage at the hands of Iwagakure. With such a relationship, it is impossible for Konoha to take action against the Hidden Rain village. And if it is really a spy organization, the Akatsuki organization cannot act in such a high-profile manner. Continuing to listen to reports from his subordinates about the Akatsuki organization, Sansho Hanzo further confirmed that the Akatsuki organization was by no means a threat, and that their behavior was more like his younger self, full of vitality and hope for the future. Unfortunately, how long can hope last? This young man named Yahiko will be defeated by reality sooner or later, and choose to succumb to reality just like himself. At that time, he might take the initiative to join him and become a jonin under him. Instead of worrying about these, it is better to think about the war between Konoha and Iwagakure. This is the biggest threat to Amigakure village. Thinking of this, Sansho Hanzo opened another piece of information, which recorded the Battle of Kanabi Bridge and information about Namikaze Minato, Golden Flash, the ability to abandon a mission without being punished when encountering a Golden Flash, the art of the Flying Thunder God. Each piece of information related to Minato stimulated Sansho Hanzo's nerves, and Sansho Hanzo began to wonder if he was getting old. After all, his teleportation technique couldn't kill several jounin in a short period of time. This Konoha jounin named Namikaze Minato may be able to become his strong enemy in the future, and compared with Namikaze Minato, Yahiko is nothing at all, not a ninja of the same level at all. Konoha is indeed Konoha. After the birth of strong men like the Sannin and Hitaki Sakumo, it took less than 10 years for another extremely outstanding ninja to appear, and there are not even a few decent elite jounin in Amigakure village, and they can't choose a successor. if something goes wrong with his body, there will be no successor in the Amagakure village. I am afraid that even Konoha, who is currently on good terms with him, will put his thoughts on the Amagakure village. Why is the Kingdom of Rain so weak, and why can't it cultivate a qualified heir? After his death, what should Yuin village do? Thinking of this, Sansho Hanzo suddenly felt a little tired. He sighed softly, turned around, left the office, and walked towards the room. He needs a good rest before he can continue with his official duties. After seeing this scene, the eyes of the guards on the side obviously dimmed a bit. After less than 2 hours of work, Master Hanzo went to have fun again. Chapter 43 Danzo who pays attention to Bai Ye. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Compared with the lazy Hanzo, Danzo who is active in the Kasakakure area is much more conscientious. The reason is very simple, since Namake's Minato single-handedly reversed the disadvantage on the battlefield and won the Battle of Kanabi Bridge, this young man in his early 20s has become the leader of the younger generation in Konoha. His reputation and status have surpassed other jounin, reaching the level of being on par with the 3 ninjas. This made Danzo, whose reputation was not as good as that of the Sannin and had been secretly active, feel an urgent sense of crisis. Once Minato Namikaze really participates in the election and gets Jiraiya's support to become the 4th generation Hokage of the village, then he, who is already old, will not be able to survive the time to run for the 5th generation Hokage. So at the end of the Battle of Kanabi Bridge, the fighting between Konoha and Iwagakure gradually subsided. Danzo and the Root Organization have been active on the borders of various countries to see if they can expand this war and allow Konoha to gain greater benefits while minimizing the gold content of the Kanabi Bridge battle. To Danzo's regret, these actions of him and the Root Organization did not yield much. Neither Iwagakure nor the surrounding ninja villages have any intention of expanding the war. At present, maintaining the front line is just looking for suitable opportunities for peace talks. However, these few months have not been without success. At least the Uchiha under Minato Namikaze died in the battle. The Uchiha named Obito killed an Iwagakure Jonin before he died, which was considered to have made the greatest contribution to the village. After all, if Obito really grew up as a Jonin as a Minato disciple, he might enter the inner circle of the village in the future, which would be absolutely intolerable to him. The second Hokage Senju Tobirama once said that only an Uchiha who dies in battle is a good Uchiha. As the most outstanding disciple of Mr. Tobirama, he naturally strictly abides by the teacher's teachings and has been committed to suppressing Uchiha. He must not let the narrow and sensitive Uchiha threaten the Hokage building. It's just a pity that his men didn't find Obito's body, otherwise he could have recovered a Sharingan and let Obito continue to shine for the village. After sighing with emotion, Danzo continued to think about how to restart the war. At this moment, Aburame Ryoma walked into the room where Danzo was, brought the scroll in his hand to Danzo's desk, lowered his head and said, "Lord Danzo, you asked me to collect information on the Land of Rain." Danzo glanced at his left and right hands, then picked up the information scroll. After flipping through it a few times, he noticed the information about the Akatsuki organization. After learning that Akatsuki, an organization that did not obey the orders of the Hidden Rain Village, had appeared in the Land of Rain, Danzo mused. Although he and Hanzo have a good personal relationship and have been cooperating with each other secretly, he doesn't mind using the Akatsuki organization to cause some trouble for Hanzo. It would be even better if it can cause civil strife in the Land of Rain. After all, the Kingdom of Rain is still in civil strife, and the surrounding kingdoms of grass and field will not be stable either. It would be great if the finger of civil strife was pointed at Iwagakure village. At least Konoha would not have to worry about pressure from the north for a few years. As for how to use the Akatsuki organization to create chaos, Danzo has already thought of several ways. In the end, this type of rebel ninja organization just wants to overthrow the current leader of the ninja village and become the new leader of the village. As long as they send someone to identify themselves and give them enough benefits, they can convince the other party. If the other party can really overthrow Hanzo, it would be great. Since he couldn't, he could also tell Hanzo part of his plan by the way, and get Hanzo's gratitude, so that he could weaken the strength of the Rain country without a single blow, and even make the Rain Hidden Village a vassal of Konoha. When he saw the names of Yahiko, Konan, and Nagato, Danzo suddenly felt something was wrong, and asked Aburame Ryoma, "Do you have any information about Yahiko, Nagato, and Konan?" Aburame Ryoma Nodded quickly and told the appearance characteristics of the three people. Danzo made up the images of several people in his mind, and quickly thought of Jiraiya who had stayed in the land of rain for 3 years. Could these people be Jiraiya's apprentices? Thinking of this, Danzo had a lot of headaches. Why was it related to Jiraiya? Among the 3 disciples of Hiruzen Sarutobi, Tsunade was the granddaughter of the first master, but she got into the bad habit of gambling. Orochimaru and his temper were relatively manageable with him, and they could occasionally communicate with him, but only Jiraiya was not the same person as him. This guy's mind was filled with the children of prophecy and world peace. After the Second War, he abandoned the village and his responsibilities as a ninja, and stayed in the land of rain for 3 years before returning to the village. If all the top executives of the Akatsuki organization were Jiraiya's disciples, then his plan might really have no effect. After all, these people are probably just like Jiraiya. All of them have the illusion of world peace. In Danzo's view, world peace is just like the will of fire, and is nothing more than a slogan. As long as ninjas exist, there will be no peace in this world. Instead of wasting time thinking about this, it is better to think about how to get real benefits for the village and yourself, so as to climb to a higher position. For example, his dream is to become Hokage and lead Konoha to become the king of the ninja world. Continuing to look through the information, Danzo found information about Byakuya and began to study it seriously. Although this Akatsuki ninja named Byakuya does not have a high status and is not strong in strength, his style of doing things is more like a ninja and more decisive than other Akatsuki members. The handling of many things was also in line with his appetite, making him nod. Subconsciously, soon, as more and more information was learned, Danzo decided that Byakuya would be a breakthrough point for infiltrating the Akatsuki organization. If he could reach an agreement with Byakuya, he might be able to secretly influence the future direction of the Akatsuki organization. As for whether Bai Ye can be bribed, Danzo is not worried. With Byakuya's character, he must be ostracized everywhere in the Akatsuki organization, and he must have accumulated a lot of resentment towards the leader Yahiko in his heart. As long as Byakuya is given enough resources to train him, when the time comes, Byakuya will naturally take action against Yahiko and become his pawn in the land of rain. Thinking of this, Danzo said to the Aburame Ryoma on the side, "Ryoma, find this Byakuya and make him ours." After hearing Byakuya's name, Aburame Ryoma was stunned. He knew that Danzo would definitely be interested in the Akatsuki organization, and might even contact Yahiko, the leader of the Akatsuki organization. But why did he choose Byakuya? Neither strength nor status is strong, but as a member of the root organization, he did not question Danzo's authority. He could only nod in agreement and then carry out the task obediently. Chapter 44 Bai Ye vs Aburame Ryoma. You are listening at novelfull.audio. After the trip to the black market, Byakuya secretly observed Shigeru for a few days. By the way, he used carrots and sticks, promising secret techniques and curse seal control, to control a few wandering ninjas from outside and let them keep an eye on Shigeru's movements. As for why they are not allowed to join the Akatsuki organization and become official members of the Akatsuki organization, it can only be said that among the group of ninjas, those who agree with Yahiko's philosophy are an absolute minority. Only ninjas who were born in the land of rain and have experienced war and misfortune can understand each other, and after developing empathy, they are willing to join the Akatsuki organization. Once beyond the scope of the rain country, Yahiko's set of ideas will be of little use. Just like the princess of the great ninja clan in the first ninja village cannot understand the survivors of the subjugated country, ninjas from different ninja villages cannot understand each other's practices and cannot truly integrate into an organization. After all, each other's demands and expectations are completely different, unless there is a threat that forces them to unite. Of course, the most important thing is that Bai Ye wants to cultivate a force that belongs only to him. He does not need to report to others or let other senior officials know about anything he wants to do. In this way, even if there are any major changes in the future, he will have the capital to make a comeback. He has developed a habit of having a backup plan before doing anything. In the past few days, Xiaonan visited many nearby towns and villages. While recording prices, he also used help to complete some commissions for free. It can be regarded as making up for the ordinary people they harmed when they were wandering. If it weren't for her petty theft skills, she, Nagato, and Yahiko would have starved to death in the wild and would not have survived to establish the Akatsuki organization. On the way back to the agreed place, Xiao Nan saw Bai Ye holding a straw in his mouth, and a trace of helplessness flashed in his eyes. Bai Ye was still as elusive as before, and no one was seen all day long. Moreover, it was clearly Bai Ye who took over the investment task, but he had always been doing the investment. Industry matters by himself, and he didn't know where Bai Ye spent his money. Senior Xiao Nan, you are finally back. After saying hello to Xiao Nan, Bai Ye followed Xiao Nan silently. At this time, Xiao Nan couldn't help but asked, Bai, where have you gone to? How much money do you have left? Secret. Byakuya put his hands on the back of his head and said nonchalantly, I'm going to take money to bribe the Jonin of Rain Hidden Village and organize activities in the Land of Rain. I have to rely on these people to help hide it. Buying a Jonin. Xiao Nan was speechless. Is it so easy to bribe a Jonin? As long as a ninja has no bottom line, it is very convenient to make money, but people without a bottom line can't do anything even if they receive money. This is a complete waste of money, but then I thought about it. Bai Ye couldn't give away money for free. The greater possibility is that he was directly embezzled by Bai Ye, but Bai Ye should not be short of money. Like himself, he has the ability to mass-produce detonating talismans. Just when Xiao Nan wanted to say something more, Bai Ye suddenly made a hissing gesture, his face became serious, and he pointed at the woods on both sides of the road. The next moment, there was a sound that cut through the air. The kunai with the detonating talisman attached was shot between Byakuya and Conan, and exploded directly. In the firelight and smoke, Bai Ye and Xiao Nan were forced to distance themselves and looked at the four-man ninja team approaching them. The ninja team is all dressed in black and wearing hidden animal masks. They look like cold killers. After the two sides stared at each other for half a second, the ninja team launched another attack. After one of them took out a short sword and charged forward, the other three went around to the side and threw shurikens with wires, forming an imperceptible wire trap, restricting Bai Ye and Conan's movements. At the same time, the four-person team took out the kunai detonating talisman and threw it again. An ordinary jounin might find it difficult to resist this combination of attacks, but for Conan and Byakuya, who have mastered the secret technique of paper escape, escaping the trap couldn't be easier. After turning his body into countless pieces of paper, Xiao Nan flew into the air and looked down at the enemy at his feet. Countless shurikens fell like raindrops, instantly defeating the four-man team. After the ninja team looked at each other, their eyes showed obvious fear. And then they ran away in the direction they came from, and soon disappeared. Into the forest, looking at the ninja team fleeing in the distance, Conan frowned. She thought she had never provoked anyone, so why did a ninja suddenly attack her and Bai Ye? Was the Akatsuki organization being targeted, or was it related to Bai Ye? Bai Ye, do you know these people? Of course Byakuya knew him. With his animal mask and such a distinctive fighting method, he was obviously a member of Konoha's ANBU. It was hard to tell whether he was an ANBU or a root member, but in front of Xiao Nan, Bai Ye still shook his head and said, I don't know them either, but after catching them and interrogating them, I can get the answers I want. Xiao Nan hesitated for half a second, and then agreed to Bai Ye's proposal. This group of ninjas is obviously not ordinary wandering ninjas. Ordinary ninjas definitely do not have such strength and execution ability. It would be okay if they just meet by chance. But if it's against the Akatsuki organization, we have to follow the clues and figure out the situation. After making eye contact, Bai Ye and Xiao Nan rushed into the dense forest and chased the attacker in the direction of escape. Not long after Xiao Nan left, Bai Ye's body, which was left behind, looked at the bushes not far away and said coldly, Stop hiding, I've seen it a long time ago. As early as when the ninja team launched the attack just now, he had sensed the enemy hiding in secret. However, the other party didn't have much chakra, so he didn't say anything, but waited until Xiao Nan left before revealing the other party's location. After a few breaths, Aburame Ryoma walked out of the bushes and looked at Bai Ye. He was originally thinking about how to separate Xiao Nan and Bai, but he didn't expect that the other party actually stayed alone and took the initiative to create an opportunity for conversation. Byakuya of the Akatsuki organization, I am. Just when Aburame Ryoma was about to say something, Byakuya took the lead in launching an attack and appeared next to Aburame Ryoma. The paper shuriken condensed into shape and shot towards Aburame Ryoma's face. Aburame Ryoma narrowly dodged the shuriken and looked at Byakuya with a more solemn look. According to the information, isn't Byakuya just an ordinary chunin? Judging from the mastery of this taijutsu and secret technique, it is not just at chunin level. The information on the black market is still unreliable after all. He raised his sleeves and let the poisonous insects fly out from the sleeves. The poisonous insects like smoke enveloped the paper shuriken, then it flew in the direction of Bai Ye. At this moment, the shuriken covered by poisonous insects burst into flames. In the high temperature and shock wave of the explosion, the poisonous insects fell to the ground one by one. Seeing this scene, Aburame Ryoma broke into a few drops of cold sweat. Judging from the past few battles, Byakuya is definitely a jounin, and he is not a parallel import of jounin. Why is there such a master in such a little-known organization as the Akatsuki organization? However, it was still within his acceptance range, and his real trump card was physical skills. After taking off the gloves to prevent accidental injuries to teammates, Aburame Ryoma revealed his purple palms and activated the teleportation technique to appear next to Byakuya. Byakuya reached out to catch it without looking back, and punched Ryoma Aburame back several meters, although he was knocked away. A faint smile appeared on Aburame Ryoma's lips. He won this battle. Next, he only needed to help detoxify and negotiate with Bai Ye. However, the next moment, the smile on the corner of Aburame Ryoma's mouth froze. Chapter 45. Is this your attitude? You are listening at novelfull.audio. As a member of the Konoha Aburame clan, Aburame Ryoma has raised poisonous insects since she was a child and has learned a large number of secret techniques related to poisonous insects. Among the many secret techniques he has learned, the phosphorus evil insect technique is undoubtedly one of the trump cards. Years of experience in raising poisonous insects has made his flesh and blood merge with the poisonous insects. As long as he can touch the opponent with his palm, the poisonous insects can invade the enemy's flesh and blood and subdue the enemy in an instant. But he just touched the opponent's body with his palm. But why did the phosphorus evil insect technique fail? Aburame Ryoma couldn't understand, and she didn't have time for him to understand. While Aburame Ryoma was hesitating, Byakuya had already attached several detonating charms to his body, which could explode at any time. Ryoma Aburame actually had the ability to deactivate the detonating talisman on her body, but he didn't dare to do it. The real threat to his life was not the detonating talisman, but Bai Ye, who used the detonating talisman. The opponent's strength was beyond what he could handle. After swallowing his saliva, Aburame Ryoma stuttered and said, "Bai Ye, I am not your enemy." "I know." Bai Ye nodded slightly, took a few steps back politely, clapped his palms to wipe off the poisonous insect corpses, and then looked at the sweating Aburame Ryoma with a relaxed expression. If he could not confirm the specific identity of Aburame Ryoma just now, after seeing the phosphorus bug, the identity of the other party was confirmed. The other party should be a jonin at the root of Konoha and one of Shimura Danzo's many subordinates. The method to crack the phosphorus bug's technique is also very simple. As long as he covers his body with a layer of sealing technique in advance, he can block the invasion of poisonous insects. Even if this layer of protection fails, he can still use the Shiki dance to avoid it. However, what worries Byakuya more is why Danzo is targeting him. Could it be that Danzo noticed Nagato's Rinnegan in advance and wanted to take advantage of it? Or does the existence of the Akatsuki organization trigger the interests of the root organization? After hearing Bai Ye's words, Aburame Ryoma breathed a sigh of relief, and then said, "Since you know, why did you attack me? You were the one who made the first move." Bai Ye corrected Aburame Ryoma's remarks and continued, "Before taking action, you should think about the consequences of failure and whether you can bear the consequences. However, I'm in a good mood today and don't plan to kill you immediately. Now tell me your intention, and I may spare your life, ninja of the Aburame clan." After his identity was exposed and his life was at stake, Aburame Ryoma could only helplessly express his intention. "Byakuya, I am a subordinate of the Hokage assistant. He asked me to send me to help you. The Hokage's assistant's men are here to help us." After getting this information, Bai Ye showed suspicion and stared at Aburame Ryoma. Moreover, Danzo directly mentioned Danzo, and also mentioned assisting adults. Could it be possible that you are the one who transferred to Koharu and Mitokaduan? Aburame Ryoma didn't know what Bai Ye was thinking. Seeing Bai Ye's suspicious eyes, he quickly explained, after hearing about the deeds of the Akatsuki organization, Mr. Assistant is determined to help the development of the Akatsuki organization and let more people feel peace. When did the Roots become a peace-loving organization? Bai Ye sneered in his heart, and then asked, is this the reason for your sneak attack? Hearing this, Aburame Ryoma fell silent. Maybe he himself felt that this statement was a bit far-fetched, but he usually loved murder and arson, and was not good at communicating with others. At the critical moment, Bai Ye came forward to break the awkward atmosphere. After clearing his throat, Bai Ye said with a serious face, I'm different from other people in the organization. Don't talk about the concept of world peace in front of me. Just talk about how much benefit Hokage's assistance can bring to us and what price we need to pay. Aburame Ryoma also hated polite remarks and said straight to the point, we can secretly provide ninjutsu and weapons as support. In exchange, we want to gain the friendship of the Akatsuki organization. The friendship of the Akatsuki organization, it seems that the Hokage's assistant has quite a plot, doesn't it? From Aburame Ryoma's words, Byakuya could roughly guess Danzo's intention, which was nothing more than to invest in the Akatsuki organization to create chaos in the land of rain so that Konoha could benefit from it. Aburame Ryoma smiled awkwardly. At least for now, the Akatsuki organization cannot give us value. If the Akatsuki organization does not intend to accept assistance, we will leave immediately. Faced with Aburame Ryoma's method of retreating in order to advance, Bai Ye snorted coldly, and then said, I accept the goodwill of the Hokage assistant on behalf of the Akatsuki organization. I am different from other people in the Akatsuki. You will not disappoint the Hokage assistant by signing a contract with me. Seeing that things were progressing, Ryoma Aburame had a smile on her face. Carefully taking out 2 scrolls from his arms, Aburame Ryoma threw the scrolls out and explained, these are the 2 scrolls prepared by the assistant. One is a storage scroll, which contains the kindness expressed by the assistant, the other one is a psychic contract. After you sign the contract with your blood, it will be convenient for you to communicate with your assistant. Bai Ye took the storage scroll and the psychic contract. After checking them carefully, he nodded with satisfaction. It seems that you are quite sensible and did not tamper with them. Aburame Ryoma smiled. Assistant Sama, we are sincerely cooperating with the Akatsuki organization. Speaking of which, the leader of the Akatsuki organization, Mr. Yahiko, has a close relationship with us, Jiraiya-sama. After all, we are still a family. If we were really a family, you wouldn't have intentionally separated Xiaonan, but it's still the right choice for you not to seek cooperation with them. They won't cooperate with ninjas from other countries. When Byakuya said this, Aburame Ryoma thought of his boss Danzo. After shaking his head to dispel this ridiculous idea, Aburame Ryoma said to Bai Ye, Byakuya, my mission has been completed. If there is nothing else, I will leave. After saying that, Aburame Ryoma turned around and walked towards the woods. Every minute he spent with Bai Ye made him feel tremendous pressure, making him eager to leave. At this time, Bai Ye's voice sounded from behind. What did you just call me? Aburame Ryoma turned to look at Bai Ye and said with some confusion, Byakuya, don't you call me by this name? Bai Ye frowned and showed a dangerous look. The one who is directly communicating with me is your boss, Assistant Hokage, and you. Just call me Bai Ye. Don't you plan to add something else? Did you address the Hokage's assistant by his first name? Why are you compared to Danzo-sama? Aburame Ryoma was quite dissatisfied, but considering the previous results, she still said sincerely, Byakuya-sama, can I leave now? After hearing this, Byakuya nodded and signaled Aburame Ryoma to leave. Chapter 46 Danzo and Byakuya's Thoughts. You are listening at novelfull.audio. After receiving Byakuya's permission, Ryoma Aburame, who was already sweating profusely, left. At this moment, he finally understood why Lord Danzo chose Byakuya among the top leaders of the Akatsuki organization, because in some aspects of Byakuya's behavior, he was exactly the same as Danzo-sama. The meeting just now reminded him of the memory of the first time he met Danzo-sama. Byakuya is basically the dark side of the Akatsuki organization. after calming down, Aburame Ryoma rushed towards the nearby base without looking back, preparing to tell Danzo all the information about the previous meeting. As for the root team, they have been abandoned as abandoned children. In order to complete Lord Danzo's plan and protect Konoha, some useless ninjas must always be sacrificed to complete valuable actions. This is also the reason for the existence of the root. Soon, Aburame Ryoma met Danzo in a dense forest. After seeing Aburame Ryoma return alone, Danzo frowned at first, then after listening to Aburame Ryoma's report, the corners of his mouth curved up in a subtle arc. Sacrificing 4 root chunin is nothing, there are as many cannon fodder as there are. Reaching an agreement with Bai Ye of the Akatsuki organization is the most important thing, and it is related to his future plans. Aburame Ryoma recalled the experience just now and couldn't help but remind her. Danzo-sama, isn't it too dangerous for you to cooperate with this Byakuya? He not only hides the combat power of the elite Jonin, but also guesses your intentions. And isn't he a little too young for his age? Danzo glanced at his old subordinates, chuckled and said, you can disguise your age and combat ability. These are not important. What is important is that Byakuya has ambitions and the ability to realize his ambitions. As long as he continues to grow, he will be able to threaten Hanzo's position sooner or later. Whether the Akatsuki organization replaces Hanzo or is wiped out by Hanzo will have nothing to do with us. Don't forget, our goal is just to create chaos in the Kingdom of Rain. Hearing this, Aburame Ryoma nodded slightly. With Danzo-sama's ability, it is not easy to handle a Jonin dormant in the Akatsuki organization. He is too sensitive and worrying about whether Byakuya will really rise and become a threat to the Roots and Akatsuki organizations. Now it seems that as long as Lord Danzo is around, this situation is impossible to happen, but Aburame Ryoma forgot one premise, that is, Danzo was really for Konoha, not for Konoha's excuse to seek his own interests. After Aburame Ryoma left, Byakuya found a place to sit down and began to study the benefits left by Aburame Ryoma. The seal on the storage scroll is very simple and can be broken by Bai Ye casually. Inside were several boxes of well-made kunai, shurikens, and wires. In addition, there were several secret books recording sea-level ninjutsu, and 3 million taels of cash. Bai Ye roughly estimated the value, and conservatively estimated it to be worth 10 million taels, equivalent to 1/3 of Asuma's head, or the completion of 10 S-level tasks. Considering that we are still in the war, the actual value of these materials is even higher. Thinking of this, Byakuya couldn't help but sigh that Konoha was really rich. It was not just a training institution for Umbu, but it was able to give such a generous gift. No wonder every time there is a war in the ninja world, everyone will collectively besiege Konoha. On the one hand, Konoha is too strong, and Konoha must be dragged into the water to prevent leaks. On the other hand, Konoha is too rich. Even if they lose, they might be able to get some reconstruction funds from Konoha. After putting the supplies back into the storage scroll, Bai Ye opened the psychic contract scroll. There are only a few names written on the scroll. They should be the previous owners of the psychic beast. I wonder if these are still alive. Could it be that he has become cannon fodder in the Great Ninja War? After carefully checking to confirm that there were no traps, Bai Ye dropped blood on the psychic contract and performed the psychic technique. The psychic beast is a raptor, which is convenient for transmitting information. Unfortunately, unlike other special psychic beasts, it has no combat power and only has the advantage of fast flight speed. After releasing the psychic technique, Bai Ye put the 2 scrolls into his backpack and fell into deep thought. Before today, he really didn't expect that he would have contact with Danzo, and they also reached an agreement to help each other and became collaborators who used each other. But since Danzo took the initiative to offer gifts, he had no reason to refuse. Judging from Aburame Ryoma's words, he and Danzo have the same short-term interests, and both hope that the Akatsuki organization will rise in the Land of Rain. It's just that Danzo's goal is to cause trouble for Sansho Hanzo and put the Land of Rain in chaos, and his goal is to replace it. After all, the Akatsuki organization will sooner or later conflict with Yuin village. In order to avoid the annihilation of the Akatsuki organization in the original plot, he can only prepare in advance to annex Yuin village, and after getting in touch with Danzo, he can more easily obtain information about Konoha and the Roots, and he is getting closer to achieving a win-win situation in the future. Of course, this win-win means that he wins twice. Not long after, Xiao Nan found Bai Ye with the body of the root ninja, and his face was very ugly, during the hunt for the root ninja. Just now, Bai Ye stepped into the trap set by the root ninja, and his body was directly submerged in the fire and blown to pieces. At that time, Xiao Nan was completely stunned, thinking that Bai Ye would just die. After killing all the root ninjas, she realized belatedly that Bai Ye was not that weak at all. He was just a paper clone following her from the beginning. Looking at the angry Xiao Nan, Bai Ye's face gradually became serious. Senior Xiao Nan, do you still remember what I said when we first performed the mission? I want to show you the reality of the ninja world. Even these are just the tip of the iceberg. After hearing this, Conan fell silent. She did remember this sentence. Byakuya was doing it for her own good and had been training her to let her feel the cruelty of the ninja world, but Xiao Nan still feels that something is wrong. It has been several months. Isn't it over yet? After asking Conan to reflect and successfully avoid the topic of paper clone deception, Bai Ye looked at the root ninja corpse next to Conan and asked. Senior Xiao Nan, have you figured out the identities of these attackers? Conan nodded, rummaged through the root ninja corpses and found a few tokens with the Iwagakure mark, and said, I suspect they are Iwagakure ninjas. Then, Xiao Nan recalled the previous experience and said with some uncertainty, maybe they are the ninjas of Kuzakure village. They have disguised themselves once before. Senior Xiaonan's information is almost the same as none. Byakuya was joking as he walked to the corpse of the root ninja. After checking it, he said, these people are neither grass ninja nor rock ninja. They are all members of Konoha Anbu. Chapter 47 Yahiko's Imagination. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Konoha Anbu, is this impossible? Mr. Jiraiya. After learning from Byakuya that the attackers were Konoha ninjas, Conan frowned and said it was impossible. It's not that Conan doesn't believe Byakuya, it's just that the conclusion that the attacker is Konoha Anbu is too exaggerated. Even if Konoha wants to disguise its identity and start a war, it won't just choose the Akatsuki organization. Even if the Akatsuki organization was attacked, it would not be able to start a war. Moreover, her, Yahiko, and Nagato's teachers were still Jiraiya, so she could contact them if she wanted to do anything. Hearing this, Bai Ye sighed softly, Senior Xiao Nan, you are still too naive. After experiencing so many things, your way of thinking is still so one-sided. You are still too naive. Xiao Nan almost became anxious after being repeatedly talked about being naive. She knows that she is deficient in some aspects, but she is already working hard to correct it, and she can also tell whether enemies are disguised as other enemies, but Bai Ye always speaks innocently, just like coaxing a child. Obviously I am the older one. Byakuya did not continue to play with Conan's mentality and began to explain, Senior Conan, Lord Jiraiya naturally cannot take action against the Akatsuki organization, but Jiraiya cannot represent the entire Konoha. Remember how Nagato-senpai became an orphan? Those Konoha ninjas can even attack their allies. They are Konoha ninjas just like Jiraiya. Konoha is a great ninja village with tens of thousands of ninjas. There are different voices in it. There are ninjas who agree with Jiraiya. Naturally, there are also ninjas who oppose Jiraiya and want to cause trouble for Jiraiya. What we encounter today is the latter. As for why I am sure that they are Konoha ninjas, it's because I just had a fight with their leading Jounin. That Jounin used the secret technique of the Konoha Aburame clan. The secret technique is difficult to deceive. Regarding Bai Ye's words, Xiao Nan initially listened carefully with a learning attitude. But in the end, when she heard Bai Ye identify the attacker through secret techniques, she couldn't help but roll her eyes. It turns out you're not much better than me. However, Byakuya's analysis of Konoha did teach her a lot, and she no longer cared about it. At this time, Xiao Nan seemed to remember something, and then asked, Bai Ye, what should we do with these corpses next? Of course I will leave it to Yahiko to decide. If there is a chance, I can also give it directly to Jiraiya. As one of the 3 ninjas who are famous in the ninja world, he must have a way to deal with this matter. Bai Ye gave a solution that was not a solution, and at the same time teased. Senior Xiaonan, don't always make things difficult for me, a newcomer to the organization. I'm not omnipotent. Xiaonan ignored Bai Ye's cold joke and fell into deep thought. Reporting it to Yahiko was a sure thing, but would it be bad to hand the body over to Jiraiya-sensei? Moreover, the three of them had not contacted teacher Jiraiya for many years, and the toad they used to communicate also died in an accident. Otherwise, if they encounter an unsolvable problem, they will still go to the teacher for help. However, after mentioning the identity of teacher, Xiaonan subconsciously glanced at Bai Ye beside him. To a certain extent, Bai Ye looked like the teacher of the three of them. The Akatsuki organization cannot develop to this point without Bai Ye's help, but she always felt that Bai Ye's body was shrouded in a mysterious veil. The closer she got, the less she could understand Bai Ye's true face, and she began to become confused. After noticing Xiaonan's gaze, Bai Ye also smiled, his eyes thoughtful. After the interlude of the mission ended, Bai Ye and Conan returned to the Akatsuki organization base. Compared with the last time we went out, there are many more buildings in the base. It is not impossible to develop into a town during the holidays. Entering the office, Bai Ye threw the mission report directly in front of Yahiko and sat on the armchair nearby. Yahiko was not angry, and after flipping through a few pages of the mission report, he nodded lightly and said, "Bai, Xiaonan, you guys did a great job this time. The organization doesn't have to worry about money issues in recent years." After a pause, Yahiko continued. "However, there are some details in the mission report that need to be explained. During the week you stayed near the black market, where did you go by Bai? You won't provoke other organizations and ninja villages again, right? That in view of Byakuya's attack on Kuzukure village last time, Yahiko now feels scared when he hears no news from Byakuya, worried that if Byakuya continues like this, sooner or later the incident will be exposed. After all, if Bai Ye's identity was really exposed at that time, the entire Akatsuki organization would be in danger. Therefore, Yahiko never worried about whether Byakuya had the ability to solve problems. What he worried about was that Byakuya was too capable and would cause trouble that would implicate the Akatsuki organization. I didn't provoke other ninja villages, but Conan and I were attacked by Konoha Anbu. Bai Ye shook his head, showing a harmless expression. It's hard for Yahiko to believe in Byakuya, and it's hard to believe that Byakuya will be attacked. With Byakuya's mind and strength, it would be fine if he doesn't attack others. These words must be nonsense. At this moment, Conan, who had been silent for a long time, took a step forward and said, "Yahiko, what Byakuya said is true. We were attacked by Konoha Anbu." "You were attacked by Konoha Anbu?" Yahiko frowned. Byakuya might lie to him, but Conan wouldn't. Seeing this scene, Xiaonan nodded and talked about his experiences along the way. After listening to Xiaonan's description, Yahiko looked at the heavy rain outside the window, then at the dark clouds in the distance, sighed softly and said, "I will find a way to negotiate with Konoha about this matter and handle it properly." When it comes to Konoha, Yahiko doesn't know what to say. As the Akatsuki organization develops rapidly, Yahiko, who has been reminded by Shiroyi, knows that many people and organizations will be targeting the Akatsuki organization, but they didn't expect that the first person to target them and take action was not the Hidden Rain village, but Konoha. What was even more unexpected was that the reason why Konoha took action was not because the Akatsuki organization threatened Konoha, but because they were disciples of teacher Jiraiya. "I believe in you, Chief Yahiko." After leaving a tepid answer, Bai Ye left the Shao organization office. At this time, he was no longer suitable to continue talking. Let's leave space to Conan and Yahiko and let them continue to think about it. After all, Danzo Shimura's attack on the Akatsuki organization had nothing to do with Jiraiya and Yahiko. He was simply targeting him and wanted to use it to stir up trouble in the land of rain. However, this does not prevent him from deceiving Yahiko and Xiaonan. These people are still too naive and need to be trained. The Yahiko trio are still too naive and need to get some exercise. Chapter 48 Bai Ye's Busy Life. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Seeing Bai Ye's lonely back, Yahiko and Conan became even more depressed. In their opinion, this attack was caused by someone in Konohagakure who disliked Jiraiya and took his anger out on Akatsuki, and now, because of them, Akatsuki and Bai Ye are implicated. Although the previous attack was nothing with Bai Ye's strength, they were worried that this attack would hit Bai Ye's fragile and sensitive heart. After all, although Bai Ye usually looks wise and intelligent, he is actually a little neurotic. For example, he is extremely insecure and extremely eager for the recognition of others. When he meets a poor person with a similar life experience, he will show a morbid care mentality. So in Yahiko's view, Bai Ye is his life mentor and a child who has not grown up yet. Looking at each other, it seems that she guessed what Yahiko was thinking. Konan also expressed her opinion of Bai Ye. She seemed to be unable to see through Bai Ye's heart. After hearing this, Yahiko sighed and said, "Konan, you don't know Bai Ye's background yet." Konan was stunned for a moment, and said with some doubt, "Isn't he an orphan like us?" Yahiko shook his head, and then said, "Bai Ye is an orphan, but he is an orphan from the land of whirlpools. He is a descendant of the Uzumaki clan like Nagato, and Bai Ye has been wandering for even longer." Descendants of the Uzumaki clan, don't Nagato and Karen have red hair? That because of Nagato, Konan also learned about the information of the Uzumaki clan. Bai Ye's identity as a descendant of Uzumaki has been confirmed by Nagato. As for why he has black hair instead of red hair, Yahiko crossed his fingers and propped up his chin and said, "The hair of Uzumaki descendants is all red, but there is one exception, that is, Bai Ye has other blood in his body, and the concentration is stronger than the Uzumaki blood, so he keeps his black hair." What blood can cover the Uzumaki blood? Who are his parents? Konan was a little surprised, but after hearing what Yahiko said, she could understand why Bai Ye was so powerful at such a young age. It turned out to be because of his blood. Yahiko shook his head, his eyes revealing confusion. "I don't know who Bai Ye's parents are, and he doesn't seem to know either, but his fragile and sensitive personality may be related to his experience and blood. Let's take care of him more in the future. He is also our family." Okay. Konan had no objection to taking care of Bai Ye. The Akatsuki organization itself is an organization of mutual help, and she is often taken care of by Bai Ye. At this time, Xiaonan seemed to remember something and asked, "Yahiko, are you really going to contact Jiraiya? We haven't contacted him for a few years, and even the communication toad has been lost." Yahiko nodded and said with a smile, "Even if the toad is lost, we can still find Jiraiya. I don't know why Jiraiya is still the same as before after so many years, and he is always out of touch every day." Recalling the funny things in the past, Xiaonan also showed a gentle smile. While Yahiko and Xiaonan were thinking about it crazily, Bai Ye returned to the room. The layout of the room was the same as before the mission, but the notes had traces of being moved because they were placed too neatly. Although he also had the habit of tidying up his desk, he didn't have the obsessive-compulsive disorder that required it to be tidy. So while he was away, someone must have read his things, and it was probably some unknown obsessive-compulsive white zetsu. However, these notes were used to establish the character, so it didn't matter if they were peeked at, but he was still opposed to Bai Zetsu's behavior of snooping into privacy. Even if it was a reality show, he had to ask for the consent of the parties involved and pay for it. Or, Uchiha Lao Dang, you can also join the Akatsuki organization directly and give me some gold coins. Let alone, a pair of Mangekyo Sharingan, and Senra Wanxiang payment is not impossible. If I always do it for free, how can I perform the show effect? After complaining in his heart, Bai Ye still wrote the content of this mission in his notebook. In the notes, he was quite dissatisfied with this mission, and complained about the top leaders of the Akatsuki organization. By the way, venting a lot of resentment. After writing the casual notes, Bai Ye lay directly on the sofa, relaxing his body while thinking about how to do the next work. For him, who has many identities, carrying out missions is rest, and life after returning to the base will be more tiring. On the surface, he is a small senior executive in the Akatsuki organization, second only to the Yahiko trio. In addition to his daily practice, he also has to supervise the special training of Karen, Nagato, and others. Occasionally, he would be called by Yahiko to hold a small meeting of 2 or 3 people. Secretly, he would contact Shigeru and other subordinates to learn about the movements of the Hidden Rain Village through them to prevent the Hidden Rain Village from attacking the Akatsuki organization without martial ethics. Now, he has become Danzo's subordinate and a pawn for Danzo to stir up the Rain Country. Maybe Danzo will assign him a task to make trouble in the Rain Country at any time. In addition, he has to maintain his personality in front of Uchiha Madara and White Zetsu. After doing so many things, his life is clearly arranged and very fulfilling. However, as long as the Akatsuki organization can develop and give him a steady stream of gold coins, these hardships are nothing. Anyway, he was just a hard-working worker in his previous life. In the Akatsuki organization in the ninja world, he is one of the founding elders and has become a candidate for the leader. After closing his eyes for a while, Bai Ye suddenly stood up from the sofa and frowned. After gently opening the door, he walked straight towards the forest outside the Akatsuki organization base. Soon, Bai Ye came to a remote and uninhabited place and used his psychic skills. With a bang and a burst of white smoke dissipating, a raptor flew onto Bai Ye's shoulder. There was also a scroll tied to the raptor's leg. Bai Ye picked up the scroll and cancelled the psychic contract with a speechless expression. This raptor psychic beast is not another psychic beast, it is the tool used by Byakuya and Danzo to communicate, the conscientious courier hawk. This is not the most critical thing. The most critical thing is that he has only returned to the Akatsuki organization base for less than half a day. In other words, less than a day had passed before Danzo couldn't wait to contact him. This was also more frequent. Did he really treat himself as a subordinate? Byakuya frowned, very dissatisfied with Danzo's behavior. After opening the scroll and seeing the A-level ninjutsu and the accompanying check recorded on the scroll, Byakuya's brows immediately relaxed a lot, feeling that Danzo still cared about his subordinates. As long as Danzo can still generate gold coins, the cooperative relationship between him and Danzo may last for a long time. After thinking about it in his mind, Bai Ye slowly opened the communication scroll and began to read it carefully. Chapter 49 Preparation for the New Department. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The Akatsuki organization is currently too weak. You must develop it immediately before we can start further cooperation. The content of the letter was very simple. After reading it, Bai Ye frowned. This leader who is rooted in darkness seems to have forgotten that he is not his subordinate, and is asking himself as a superior how to develop the Akatsuki organization. Do you not want to grow the Akatsuki organization? But we don't have this ability yet. Why don't you let me go directly to the 5 great ninja villages? Faced with such outrageous requests from Party A, Bai Ye would usually just ignore them, but considering that Danzo, an old guy, still had value, Bai Ye patiently wrote a reply. In the reply, Bai Ye first expressed his impatience, and then brought up the issue of Akatsuki's organizational development. The Akatsuki organization is a new organization that is very short of manpower, money, and ninjutsu. Regarding these aspects, he proposed reforms in organizational meetings several times, but they were all rejected by the top management headed by Yahiko. Therefore, in the short term, there is no way to cooperate deeply with the Hokage assistant. After writing the reply, Bai Ye read it carefully several times, and after confirming that the text contained a sense of frustration, he sealed it with fire paint and summoned the ninja eagle. Watching the ninja eagle spread its wings and turn into a black dot in the sky, Bai Ye showed a meaningful smile. This letter was tailor-made for Danzo, and Danzo would be very satisfied. On the way back, Bai Ye didn't use chakra to rush, but found Huali a few hundred meters away. Huali seemed to be lost. The lenses of her glasses and clothes were also wet from the rain, and she looked pitiful. Looking at Huali, who had been following him, Bai Ye asked helplessly, "Huali, why did you run out? Don't you usually go out?" Huali wiped the dew on her glasses and said, "Bai, after I heard the news that you were back, I wanted to find you, but you happened to be not at home, so I followed the location of the chakra and found it all the way here. I just want to come here and tell you that I have learned all the sealing techniques you taught me." Hearing this, Bai Ye was speechless. Can't he find himself again later? He is now secretly colluding with foreign forces. What should he do if he is exposed? Moreover, this place is more than 10 kilometers away from the Akatsuki organization base, so the ability to sense whirlpools must be outrageous. If he hadn't also mastered Kagura's mind, I'm afraid Karen would have discovered it. At that time, he would have had to confess honestly. Yahiko would definitely not allow him to collude with Danzo. However, Bai Ye still tried his best to show a gentle attitude when facing Xiao Liake, who took the initiative to practice to improve his strength. "Huali, It's good that you have this consciousness, but remember to bring some weights next time you go out and put on clothes suitable for walking in the rain. Ah. Do you have to train with weights even on rainy days? Huali was stunned, secretly thinking that Bai Ye was a devil. However, Bai Ye is doing special training at this time, and Bai Ye is too involved, and why does the special training have to be so far away from the organization base? Is it because you don't want others to know, so you train secretly? Bai Ye saw what Huali was thinking, and Bai Ye said with a smile, "Why, do you want to join the exclusive training? I have always felt that you have the potential to become a strong person in physical arts." Huali waved her hands repeatedly to express her refusal. She doesn't want to practice physical skills. Hiding in her room to study medical ninjutsu and sealing skills is her pursuit. The outside world is too scary, and everyone has thoughts about the Uzumaki bloodline. After cleverly skipping the topic of going out, Bai Ye began to ask about Huali's study progress. Let's see when Karen will be able to have a jounin, an elite jounin, and even a movie-level rating. Unfortunately, Huali's strength has not improved much. The medical ninjutsu and sealing techniques that Huali usually learns are not of much help in improving her strength. She is a research-type talent. It is much more difficult for research-type talents to obtain Jonin and Kaga-level evaluations than for combat-type talents, but in the long run, it is more beneficial to the development of the organization, and now that the Akatsuki organization is gradually taking shape, it is also time to start forming special teams such as medical classes and sealing classes. It is impossible to always be mixed together without a clear division of labor. However, if they want to really establish a dedicated department, the Akatsuki organization still has a few people. The Akatsuki organization currently only has a few dozen ninjas, and it needs at least hundreds of people to divide into various departments. This means that the Akatsuki organization has reached a time when it must expand its recruitment. After returning to the Akatsuki organization base, Byakuya immediately found Yahiko. Yahiko looked surprised at Byakuya, who visited twice in one day. Usually Byakuya hated coming to the Akatsuki organization office. "Bai Ye, are you looking for me if you need something?" Bai Ye nodded slightly and said directly without too much nonsense. "Yahiko, the money problem has been solved now. In order to face the threats from Amigakure village and Konoha Umbu, the organization needs to recruit more people. And it's time for the Akatsuki organization to establish special departments such as medical and security departments." "Recruiting people? I have similar ideas." Yahiko nodded subconsciously, then realized something was wrong and added, "Wait a minute, what's going on in Amigakure village? A ninja attacked us in Konoha. What does this have to do with Master Hanzo?" The growth of the Akatsuki organization will naturally arouse Hanzo's fear. You can also think that Hanzo poses no threat to us. In order to deal with the attacks of Konoha ninjas, we should expand our manpower. Bai Ye said expressionlessly. Yahiko was very helpless, but the truth was this. There were indeed ninjas who attacked Byakuya and Konan, and with the expansion of the Tsukiko organization's territory this month, there was an obvious shortage of manpower. It is also time to establish the medical department and security department. It is just a matter of sooner or later. After chatting with Bai Ye last time, he went out of his way to learn about the history of the establishment of major ninja villages, and found that when they were first established, these ninja villages were similar to the current situation of the Akatsuki organization, and they were all established for ideals. With the establishment of Ninja Village, they also established various major departments. What makes Yahiko feel frightened is that the ideals of these ninja villages are limited to their own people. Internally they are united and friendly, but externally they have another face. This made Yahiko worry about the future of the Chixiao organization. Will the Akatsuki organization in the future degenerate into the 5 great ninja villages? Yahiko himself doesn't know. However, it is still too early to think about these now. The Akatsuki organization is still too small, and the area it can influence is also very small in the Kingdom of Rain. Collecting his thoughts that were gradually diverging, Yahiko looked at Bai Ye and said, "I will start to establish a new department in a few days, but I have a request that you need to complete." "What request?" Bai Ye looked at Yahiko with interest. Yahiko said slowly, "After sending the newcomers back to the base this time, you have to assess them with me. Don't always think about being lazy." "Huh? Bai Ye nodded, agreeing. Chapter 50 Danzo's Plan. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Somewhere within the Kingdom of Rain, Danzo was sitting on the tatami, looking at the reply letter lying on the table. As Bai Ye was his first chess piece in the Akatsuki organization, he looked forward to the content in the letter. The content might bring him a lot of surprises. After opening the reply letter, Danzo read the contents carefully. In the first paragraph of the letter, Bai Ye did not follow his instructions and immediately developed the Akatsuki organization. Instead, he refuted his orders and told him not to meddle in other people's business. Although Danzo was quite unhappy with these words, they were still within an acceptable range. Byakuya was not the ninja he had trained since childhood, and now he had a high status in the Akatsuki organization. It was normal to be dissatisfied with his dictating. Young people always learn to restrain their energy and respect the elderly after experiencing something. Continuing to read down, I saw Bai Ye telling in the letter that he was already working hard to develop the Akatsuki organization, but due to manpower, money and ninjutsu, the plan was delayed. Danzo has long been accustomed to this set of words. It's just that he thinks he hasn't given enough and wants to get more benefits from himself. These rising ninjas from the small ninja village regard even A-level ninjutsu as a treasure. They can entrust their lives for a few million taels. It's best to handle them. However, you cannot withhold assistance, nor can you give too much at once. If you don't give it, you will feel resentful, and if you give it too much, you will have thoughts of leaving. When it comes to training spies, Danzo boasts that he has quite a lot of experience. Continuing reading, when he saw Byakuya's suggestion at the Akatsuki organization meeting, but it was jointly rejected by the top management headed by Yahiko, Danzo's expression was mixed with sadness and joy, and became extremely complicated. Happily, his guess about Bai Ye was correct. The other party is indeed the person who does dirty things in the Akatsuki organization, and he has the motivation to climb up. However, due to various reasons, his suggestions were rejected by some sanctimonious ninjas, and he was unable to use all his abilities. Sadly, he is the same person, and the situation is even worse. Whenever he wants to make a proposal, he will always encounter opposition from Sarutobi Hiruzen. Koharu and Mito Kadini will also side with Sarutobi Hiruzen and jointly reject his proposal. The difference with Byakuya is that he is only one step away from becoming Hokage. If he had not hesitated during the severance incident and proposed the severance earlier than Sarutobi Hiruzen, maybe the third Hokage would have been him and he wouldn't have had to guard the light in the darkness. If there was a choice, who would want to be the root in the darkness every day, but the Hokage in the sun? The Aburame Ryoma next to her saw Danzo lost in thought and felt a little confused. Didn't I just receive the reply from Bai Ye? Is Lord Danzo looking so gloomy? Did Byakuya offend Danzo-sama? Thinking of this, Aburame Ryoma asked cautiously, Danzo-sama, Byakuya refused your order. Danzo shook his head and said seriously, no, don't ask any more questions. Hearing this, Ryoma Aburame shut up obediently. Don't ask questions that you shouldn't ask was one of the rules in the route manual. As Danzo's right-hand man, he usually didn't need to abide by this rule, but since Danzo has spoken personally, he can't even ask more questions about this secret. However, now he was even more curious about the contents of the letter. At this time, Danzo saw the end of the letter, in which Byakuya asked if there was any way to seize power, and promised to strengthen cooperation with Konoha after becoming the leader of the Akatsuki organization. Seeing this, Danzo fell silent again. It's a good thing that Bai Ye wants something from him. It can better control the opponent and make Bai Ye completely become a pawn, but after becoming the leader of the route, he had done many shady tasks, killed officials under the daimyo, and planned a conspiracy against the third Raikage, but he really didn't have much experience in seizing power. If he had experience, he would have pulled down Sarutobi Hiruzen long ago. The position of Hokage should be left to him. Hiruzen Sarutobi is more suitable to be the route leader and live underground. At this time, Danzo couldn't help but picture himself standing on the Hokage building, wearing a Hokage hat and waving to everyone, and everyone responded with a roar, and respectfully called him Hokage-sama. At that time, Sarutobi Hiruzen could only hide in the corner of the crowd, showing unwillingness in his eyes. After the fantasy time ended, Danzo looked at Aburame Ryoma beside him, pushed the letter to Aburame Ryoma, and asked, Ryoma, Byakuya needs help, do you have any good ideas? Aburame Ryoma quickly glanced at the content of the letter, and his face gradually solidified. The help Byakuya needed was simple, but he didn't know and didn't dare to answer Danzo. Isn't the relationship between Byakuya and the senior leaders of the Akatsuki organization the same as the relationship between Danzo and other high-level officials in Konoha? Danzo asked him how to assist Byakuya at this time. Wasn't he asking him how to launch a coup in Konoha? Although many people knew that Danzo wanted to become Hokage, including the third Hokage himself, he could not answer this question easily. Aburame Ryoma's silence was noticed by Danzo. He frowned and showed displeasure in his eyes. He didn't even dare to answer such a trivial matter. How could we discuss major matters together in the future? Seeing Danzo's thoughts, Aburame Ryoma's heart skipped a beat and said directly. Lord Danzo, why don't we help Byakuya kill the leader and senior officials of the Akatsuki organization? After losing the other senior officials, he will naturally become the leader of the Akatsuki organization. Killing is indeed good, but some are too extreme, and it will also arouse Bai Ye's jealousy. Danzo frowned, not satisfied with this answer, because once all the other senior executives died, the only surviving senior executive would become the biggest target of suspicion. Although others would be angry and dare not speak out even if they knew the truth, this would definitely weaken the organization's strength. Once the outside launches an invasion, this fire leader will not be able to hold the position for long. After the suggestion was opposed, Aburame Ryoma breathed a sigh of relief. And then said, nonsense, how about we contact Byakuya to make a plan, so that when the Akatsuki organization falls into crisis, Byakuya will come to save the Akatsuki organization. In this way, Byakuya will definitely become the hero of the Akatsuki organization, and it will be natural for him to become the leader. Yes, this plan is much more reliable than before. After hearing this suggestion, Danzo's expression softened a lot. If he could really become a village hero, his chances of becoming Hokage would indeed be much higher in the future, but now there are no major wars in the village. Even if the village encounters a crisis, there is a high probability that Namikaze Minato and Sarutobi Hiruzen will save the village. He has no chance at all, and this plan is still not very reliable. Thinking of this, Danzo looked at Aburame Ryoma and asked. Are there any other options? I don't think these are good enough.